Alright, this video I'm going to speak about why I don't train barefoot for the martial arts. Somebody sent me in a question about this, and he's saying, in my dojo, that he trains in, that there no shoes are allowed, and why do you guys train with shoes in your dojo? First off, I don't train in a dojo. I train in a Kune. So Kune is Chinese, from Chinese martial arts school. Dojo is Japanese, and you notice that the Japanese, they also have like belt ranking systems, and they'll have like their Japanese martial art uniform, which is very different than the Chinese martial arts. Even Bruce Lee, if you remember, he would wear the Chinese martial art uniform with the frog buttons, and he would wear that, and he even had martial arts shoes too. They still have those available. It's like kind of like those low profile comfy shoes that are cotton. Not great technology, but he still had those shoes. But the reason why I train with shoes on is because in my school, I teach primarily for street self-defense and artistic creativity, but when it boils down to it, it's like for street survival. And I use the shoes and I use the technology to our advantage. I use that as a weapon, to enhance our abilities in defending ourselves. Notice that we don't use gloves, because if you train your fists to be strong, your knuckles are going to be more powerful than if you covered up with a glove. So, but with your feet is different. Your feet is very sensitive, extremely sensitive. Like, if you try to go a whole day without wearing any shoes, and you go out there, out in the public, out in the streets, you're going to have a very hard time. Just walking to your car, taking out the garbage, going into the alley, going to work. Anywhere you go, you're going to need something to protect your feet, and if you don't, you're going to pay for it. So, you go out there. If I step out there right now, I might step on some glass, I might step on some nails, I might step, on all sorts of things that will really hurt my feet. The feet are very sensitive, so that is something that's a reality. So we use the shoes as a way to enhance our abilities to protect ourselves, not just from the elements. I mean, imagine going out there when it's a snowstorm without shoes. I mean, it's going to be a huge problem. Shoes are very important technology for everything that we do. Shoes for, there's football shoes for football, baseball shoes for baseball, soccer shoes for soccer, basketball shoes for basketball. Imagine if you told everybody in the NBA, hey, no more shoes, everybody's playing without shoes. It's going to make a huge difference in the game. And there's going to be a lot more injuries, and people are going to get injured left and right. You just finish dunking at somebody and you land after jumping so high off the ground, almost 4 feet off the ground, and you got to land without shoes. It's huge, it's going to be a huge problem. So with the martial arts, the shoes will enhance your kicking technique. It'll enhance all your techniques, make you better at what you do, better able to protect yourself. Another thing is also out there in the streets, we all wear shoes. There's really nobody out there that doesn't wear shoes. So if you're going to wear shoes out there in the streets, then you should spar and you should train with those shoes on, so then you are familiar with how it's going to feel when you're out there on the streets. So that's important. Now, if you're going to walk out there without shoes, then you're welcome to train without shoes. I don't necessarily force my students to wear shoes. If they really don't want to wear shoes, they don't have to. But there's other things that are problems as well. Sanitation issues. I don't want people to have sweaty feet, and then their feet sweat all over the mats, and then people lay on the ground, lay their face on the mats, and then the fungus, athlete's foot, transfers onto the skin, and then people start getting ringworm. That's an issue. I don't want people that have dirty feet in here and then sweating all over the mats with their dirty feet. Okay? There's other issues as well, safety issues, where somebody wanted to spar without shoes. Alright, so she sparred and then she broke her toe because her foot got caught in the mat, so her toe got broken. You spar without shoes, very easily you will break your toes. If somebody blocks your kick, or if you kick somebody's knee, you kick somebody's shin, you kick somebody's elbow, you'll break your foot, you'll break your toes very easily. The bones in your foot are very fragile, easy to break. So it's a safety issue when it comes to sparring, it's a sanitation issue, and also it's a safety issue when it comes to weightlifting. We use a lot of weights in here, so you could drop the weight on your foot. You know, you could be walking and then your toe hits one of the weights and you break your toe. There's just so many different ways to get injured in the weight room without shoes. Even people have broken their toes in here before. There's a lot of people that have gotten injured training without shoes in here. So I tell the people, if you're going to spar, make sure you wear the shoes, because it's there to protect your feet. Okay? Protection, it makes your techniques more powerful. Alright, so there's just so many different reasons of why training with shoes is just more practical for this school. Because once again, we train for the streets. So we don't enter into competitions, we don't fight for competitions. So, like, those rules don't apply to us. You know, for those karate tournaments or whatever tournaments that are, you know, so-called martial art tournaments that don't allow shoes, those rules don't apply to us. Even boxers wear shoes. Boxers have shoes. Even wrestlers have shoes. Okay? So, even the Taekwondo wears shoes. So karate might not wear shoes, jiu-jitsu might not wear shoes, aikido might not wear shoes, judo might not wear shoes. So there might be a lot of these Japanese martial arts schools that do not wear the shoes. But in here, this is a Chinese martial arts school, and also with my preference and with my, I have the ability to decide what is the best route for the school. Like I said, I don't force people to wear the shoes, but I highly recommend it. But if they do spar, then I do pretty much tell them to wear the shoes, because it's protecting them, it's protecting the school, and I don't want to see people injured. And in addition, the shoes make the kicks more powerful, and if you learn how to defend yourself against someone who's kicking at you with shoes on, then there's really, there's no surprises out there in the streets. You're already familiar of what can happen if somebody kicks you with the shoe on. It's gonna hurt more, and the kicks are more destructive. The kicks that might not normally have hurt earlier without the shoes, now they hurt a lot. So you gotta prepare for that, So that's my reasoning, and, I think it's a very justified reason. Almost every sport out there, they have their shoes. Hockey, they got their skates. Soccer, they got their shoes. And there's a problem with the martial arts. There's no technology, no money being put into the development of the ultimate martial arts shoes. So the martial artists are forced to go into other areas to look for quality shoes, such as indoor soccer shoes, running shoes, wrestling shoes. There's no technologies out there for us, and there needs to be. So the video that I just made is just promoting the wrestling shoe, to say that they put some good technology into that development, and that shoe is worth giving a try for the martial arts. But these are some things to think about. If you don't train in the school, but you love the martial arts, then essentially you make your own rules. You do what makes sense to you. I teach my students, if you're not going to wear a mouth guard out there, then why are you wearing it in here and sparring? If you're not going to wear gloves out there, then why are you wearing gloves in here to spar? If you're not going to wear that helmet out there, then why you wear the helmet in here to spar? But you're going to wear shoes out there? Okay, then wear shoes in here. And let's spar with the shoes on. If they make your kicks more powerful, then so be it. Then we're going to have to learn how to defend ourselves against somebody who's using the shoes to their advantage. You know, so those are my reasonings, and that's what makes sense to me.